Discover how my parents' shocking dismissal of my life-changing wedding revealed hidden love. Sarah's heart raced as she clutched the pink invitation in her hand. The calligraphy danced across the paper, "You're invited to the wedding of Sarah and Jake." It sparkled like hope in a world heavy with doubt. Her dreams of becoming a wedding planner were finally within reach, and Jake, her gentle giant, a noble veteran, was the man she believed she would vow to love forever. But then there was her family, the very people who had taught her that status, not love, was the greatest treasure. "You're settling, Sarah. You deserve better," her mother had said, her tone as cold as the steel-gray Ohio sky. The sheer dismissal echoed in Sarah's ears, tearing at the fabric of her heart. Her parents had only seen Jake's humble upbringing, not the way he effortlessly held her hand or listened to her dreams with admiration. She felt the hopelessness washing over her like a tide she couldn't escape, as the weight of her identity hung in the balance. That it wasn't just her mother, there was her father too, whose stern face loomed large in her mind, emphasizing his disapproval with every frown and furrowed brow. "You've worked so hard for this," he'd say, gravely shaking his head. "Don't throw it away for someone like him." Each word stuck in Sarah's throat like a lump of ice, making her question her worth and her fight for true love. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Standing in the thrumming heart of her community, Sarah volunteered for a local charity run, desperate for a taste of joy amid the confusion. When she saw her fellow volunteers smiling, laughing, united for a common cause, a ray of hope pierced through her gloom. They embodied the humility and honor that Jake presented in quiet moments, reminding her that true worth transcended wealth. Then came the pivotal moment that shattered her turmoil. A child, no older than 5, dashed into the street, a blur of innocence, unaware of the danger speeding towards him. Her heart seized, time slowed. Jake leaped, muscles taut under pressure. He dove into the path of a careening car, snatching the child to safety. Gasps and cheers erupted as he stood, the child clutched protectively in his arms. Sarah's breath caught, as relief and admiration surged through her. It was then, under the spotlight of chaos, that her parents appeared, witnessing the bravery and kindness that defined the man they believed was unfit for their daughter, but would witnessing Jake's heroism truly open their hearts. As Sarah stood there, caught between the hope flickering inside her and the crushing weight of her family's expectations, she knew this was just the beginning. Would love be enough to break through the barriers of prejudice? Or would her parents' cold dismissals haunt her forever? The future hung in the balance, and only time would reveal if their love was strong enough to shine. The days that followed were filled with an uneasy anticipation. Sarah held her breath every time she heard the sound of tires crunching on gravel, hoping it was Jake arriving after his shift. The moment he walked through the door, wearing that gentle smile that had stolen her heart, her worries eased just a little. But deep down, her family's words lingered like a haunting melody, and the coming confrontation loomed large in her mind. One chilly evening, under the dim light of their favorite cafe, Jake reached across the table, his fingers brushing against Sarah's. "You seem distant," he said, his brow furrowing. "Is everything okay?" Sarah hesitated. Would she rain on their perfect moment? "My parents," she started, then hesitated again, searching for the right words. "They just don't understand us." Jake studied her, his blue eyes searching hers for an answer. "What are you afraid of, Sarah? Are you afraid they won't accept me?" A lump formed in her throat, and tears threatened to spill. "What if they're right? What if you're not enough for them?" The doubt spilled out of her, raw and unfiltered. She hated feeling this way, yet the fear of disappointing her family loomed over her like an impending storm. Jake moved closer, his presence a fortress against her fears. "All I want is you. I know where I come from, but I've fought for everything I have. I'd fight for you, too. His voice was thick with sincerity, the weight of his promise settling between them. In that moment, Sarah felt the fragile threads of her hope weave back together, yet, as they made their way home, she knew a reckoning awaited. The weekend was set for an impromptu family dinner, and with her parents still buzzing about the incident they witnessed, she sensed the air crackle with tension. Would they confront Jake? Would they push him away, or could they see the strength behind his heart? Dinner arrived, and the atmosphere felt like walking on eggshells. Sarah's parents jabbered on about community gossip and renovations, their laughter appearing as nothing more than a mask for discontent. Jake sat across from them, quiet as he awaited her lead. Each forkful of food became a reminder of the gulf between her worlds. Finally, the moment came. "Jake," her mother started, cutting through the tension like a knife. "I want to thank you for what you did the other day. You were brave." Sarah's heart raced. Was this an olive branch? Or a prelude to another one of her mother's barbs? "Thank you, Ma. It was instinct, really," Jake replied, his voice steady, showing no sign of the nerve she felt bouncing inside of her. "But bravery comes in many forms," her father chimed in, the skepticism threading through his words. "You've certainly proven you're a hero to a child. But can we really call you a hero for someone who wants to marry our daughter?" The entire room seemed to hold its breath. Sarah's heart screamed for her parents to see Jake for who he truly was. The pain in her chest tightened like a vice, unrelenting and cruel. "Dad, please," she began, battling the lump in her throat. "It's not just about status. It's about love." As her father's gaze hardened, a flicker of uncertainty passed through Jake's eyes. Sarah felt the last shards of hope cling to a thread. Could her parents' hearts still be softened? But as words flew back and forth, fueled by misunderstandings and pride, Sarah realized that perhaps bravery didn't always look like gallant acts of valor. What might be needed was a different kind of courage, one that faced the truth head-on. As the evening progressed, tensions flared, but Sarah's resolve began to harden. If love really was the greatest treasure, she would have to fight for it. She could no longer pretend she was caught in the middle, she had to choose. But could she take that leap? Could she truly step away from her family's expectations? The moment was now. As she glanced at Jake, hope and dread mingled in her heart, both exciting and terrifying. What would she decide to say next? Would it be heartfelt and bold, or would fear silence her once again? The answer would shape their future, but only if she found the strength within. The tension in the room felt thicker than the steam rising from the plates of food. Sarah could hardly hear the clatter of forks anymore. Her heart pounded in her ears, competing with the gnawing uncertainty that clawed at her insides. This was it, she felt the suffocating weight of expectation from her family, but at the same time, the glimmer of love for Jake. She couldn't let the moment slip away. "Jake," she said, her voice clearer than she expected. She took a breath, steadying herself as her parents turned to her, expectant and curious. "I need to say something." Jake met her gaze, his eyes filled with encouragement. She glanced at her parents, whose expressions morphed from surprise to caution. In every fairy tale, there's always a moment where the princess must choose between duty and love, Sarah began, words flowing as adrenaline coursed through her. "I pick love." Her mother's eyebrows shot up, and her father's mouth tightened into a thin line. "Sarah," he started, but she leaned in, feeling empowered, pressing on. "I know you want what's best for me. I appreciate your concern," she said, her heart racing. "But I need you to understand that what Jake did, saving that child, proves he has a courage you might not see. It's not about where he comes from, or what you think of him. It's about the man he is and how he makes me feel. Safe. Loved. Accepted." Jake shifted forward, the faintest hint of a smile on his lips. It filled her with warmth, pushing her forward. "I don't want to see you just as my parents anymore. I want you to see me as I am, a woman who is deeply in love," she said, her voice quivering with emotion, her parents exchanged glances, skepticism fighting with surprise. She could sense their rigid postures begin to ease, but doubt still lingered. "But marriage is a serious commitment," her father began, voice steady but edged with uncertainty. "And you two have to consider we're serious," Jake interjected, his tone intense yet respectful. "I'm not in this for a fling. I want to build a life with Sarah. I want to be someone you can trust." "Then prove it," her mother challenged, a hint of steel in her voice. "You need to show us you're worthy of being part of our family." Their words stung, a slap to her passionate plea. "You can't put a price on love," Sarah said, feeling tears prick at her eyes. "It's not about proving something. It's about choosing to support each other through every storm." Suddenly, a crack of honesty broke through the anger. Her mother's expression softened just a touch. "We only want to protect you, Sarah." "I know," she whispered, her heart aching for the distance between them. "But maybe you have to trust me to make decisions for my life. Let me discover my own happiness." Silence settled in the room, heavy and full of questions. Sarah felt hope flicker, perhaps they could still bridge this divide. But with every heartbeat, dread also crept in. What if they couldn't see? As those painful seconds stretched and tension hung thick, she dared to look at Jake. Would love alone be enough to break these barriers? Could they truly move forward, or would this be the moment that defined their fate? Her heart raced as she awaited their reaction, knowing that whether they chose to embrace her choice or not would change everything. The silence felt like a thunderstorm brewing. Sarah held her breath, praying for understanding. She could almost hear the gears turning in her parents' minds, caught between tradition and the love they recognized in her voice. Then her father broke the stillness. "Sarah, it's not that we don't see qualities in Jake," he began slowly, carefully choosing his words. "But love is complicated. You can't ignore the fact that he comes from a different world." A flurry of emotions surged within her: frustration, sadness, and an overpowering need to fight for what she believed in. Different? Yes. But it's that difference that makes him who he is: brave, caring, and real. Her voice trembled as she continued. "Don't let your fears overshadow my happiness." Across the table, Jake's gaze flickered from her to her parents, his brows slightly knit in contemplation. He wasn't backing down. "I understand your concern. But what you see as differences, I see as strengths." He shifted in his seat, looking sincere. "I will work hard to prove that I can be the husband Sarah deserves and the son-in-law you can be proud of." For a moment, her mother's eyes sparkled with something that resembled hope. "This isn't just about you two," she said gently. "It's about families connecting. We all need to be on the same page." "Then help us write the chapter together," Sarah pleaded. "Don't shut us out before we even get started." Her father's forehead wrinkled in thought. He exchanged another glance with her mother, who seemed to ignite with a sudden urgency. "Fine," she said, her voice steady. "But it won't just be about words. We need to see action. Will you meet my family?" Jake asked, his voice steady but his eyes sparkling with a hint of nervousness. "I want you to see where I come from." "Meet your family?" Sarah echoed, her spirit flickering with excitement. They had talked about it before, but this was it, this was the bridge they needed to cross. Her mother frowned, glancing at her father. "That could be a lot. We don't know what to expect." Jake leaned forward. "I can assure you that my family will welcome you. We're not so different. We all want love, security, and happiness for our children." Sarah felt the energy in the room shift slightly. Maybe, just maybe, they could find common ground. "I'll think about it," her father finally said, his voice softer now. "But in return, you both need to be honest with us about what you truly want." "Yes, Dad. We promise." Sarah held Jake's hand tightly beneath the table, squeezing it as if it were a lifeline. As they finished their meal, the conversation ventured back into lighter territories. Laughter bubbled up, and the tension eased as Jake shared funny stories from the fire department. Every chuckle felt like a small victory against the overwhelming doubts that had filled the air, but underneath her smile, worry lingered. The emotional battleground wasn't finished yet. While her parents had opened the door a crack, a full acceptance still felt far off. As they said their goodbyes, Sarah's heart raced. The true test of unity lay ahead, and she couldn't shake the feeling that it would be a rocky road. Standing by the door, she looked back at her parents, uncertainty deepening in her gut. Were they ready for the journey ahead? Would they truly accept Jake, or would this be just another moment of resistance disguised as care? One last glance at Jake showed determination in his eyes, but uncertainty shadowed her heart. What would happen when they finally entered each other's worlds? What if the hidden fears lurking within their families would rise and push them apart? Tomorrow would tell. The next morning dawned brighter than usual, but Sarah felt the weight of impending conversations like a cloak on her shoulders. She sipped her coffee, the bitter taste mixing with her nervous anticipation. Today was the day they would meet Jake's family, and even the thought made her palms sweat. "Are you ready?" Jake's voice cut through her thoughts as he entered the kitchen, his eyes bright. He had that confident spark that always calmed her. "Ready as I'll ever be," she replied, managing a weak smile. She wasn't sure if he could see the storm brewing inside her chest. As they drove to Jake's house, she stole glances at him, trying to decipher his feelings. He drove with a steady hand, but his jaw was set tight, a sign of the anxiety bubbling beneath his calm surface. "You okay?" she asked, feeling the need to break the silence. "Just thinking," he said, his eyes fixed on the road. "I want them to like you." "You mean everything to me, Sarah." Those words swelled in her chest but also heightened her anxiety. What if they didn't like her? What if her parents' fears echoed through Jake's family and pushed them apart? But she couldn't let those thoughts derail her. They were in this together. When they pulled up to his family's house, a cozy, modest home with flower boxes dotted along the windowsill, Sarah felt a lump rise in her throat. She took a deep breath, remembering how far they had come. "Let us do this," she whispered, and Jake nodded, his determination palpable. The door opened before they could knock. A woman with kind eyes greeted them. "You must be Jake. And this is Sarah." She stepped back, pulling them into a warm embrace. "It's so nice to finally meet you both." "Thank you for having us," Sarah said, feeling a sense of relief wash over her. Maybe this wouldn't be so bad after all. As they settled in, the house buzzed with a warmth that felt welcoming. Jake introduced her to his siblings, who quickly engaged her with stories and laughter. But through it all, she caught glimpses of Jake's mother watching them closely, her expression a blend of curiosity and caution. "Hey, do you want to see the backyard?" Jake's younger sister said after they had eaten lunch. "We've got a swing set. You can't come here and not try it out." Sarah laughed, feeling the tension lighten. "You're on." As they all stepped outside, the fresh air filled her lungs, and for a moment, she forgot her worries. The playful atmosphere surrounded them. But as she pushed herself on the swing, something pulled at her heart. What if this moment didn't last? What if their families never truly connected? Suddenly, Jake's mother approached her, the apprehension clear in her eyes. "Can we talk for a minute, Sarah?" Sarah's heart raced. She glanced back at Jake, who nodded supportively, then followed his mother to a quieter corner by the fence. "Jake speaks so highly of you," she began softly, her hands clasped together. "But I want to know, what do you truly see in him?" A rush of emotions flooded through Sarah. This was at the moment where she needed to lay her heart bare. "I see a man who is kind, brave, and has dreams. He makes me feel like I can take on the world. But that's not enough for you, is it?" The woman's eyes softened, but a shadow passed across her face. "It's not that simple. Our family has always had expectations." Before Sarah could respond, laughter from the swing set broke the tension. She turned to find Jake gleefully swinging high. The image struck her hard. This was the life she wanted, with him at its center. She took a deep breath, heart racing. I understand you have fears, but isn't love worth taking risks? I'm willing to show you I can be what Jake needs, but I need you to want to get to know me. Jake's mother stared at her, weighing her words. Would this conversation bring understanding, or would it fracture the day? Just as Sarah was about to press further, a loud crash erupted from the swing set, followed by a shriek. They both turned to see Jake sprawled on the ground, laughter mixed with shock in the air. What just happened? Sarah shouted, her heart leaping to her throat. The unexpected accident created a ripple of concern in the moment's stillness. Would this mishap be a show of reassurance or unmask further worries, leaving Sarah questioning whether they could navigate their tangled love? A glance at Jake on the ground made Sarah's heart skip again. Would they have to address this chaos together, or would it splinter their fragile bond? The answer hung in the air, waiting for resolution. In an instant, the laughter transformed into a swirling mix of concern and excitement. Jake lay on the ground, staring wide-eyed at the sky, his smile still lingering, though a hint of panic danced in his eyes. Jake! Sarah sprinted towards him, her sneakers crunching on the grass. His mother followed close behind, her face a mask of worry. Jake pushed himself up, brushing blades of grass from his jeans. I'm fine. He stopped short as he caught Sarah's anxious gaze. Really, it was just a little tumble. But Sarah knelt beside him, her heart pounding in rhythm with the rush of emotions. You scared me, she breathed, scanning him for any sign of injury. Are you hurt? No, just my pride, he chuckled, though the laughter didn't quite reach his eyes. Jake's mother stepped in closer, her concern turning maternal. What were you thinking, swinging like that? It's totally safe, he argued, immediately defensive. I used to do flips on that swing when I was a kid. Maybe, but look at you now. His mother crossed her arms, her voice dripping with a mix of exasperation and affection. Sarah couldn't help but smile, the moment felt raw and real. Here was Jake, full of life and mischief for Jake. But her smile faded as she watched Jake's mother shake her head, concern pulling her features tight. Feeling the weight of the conversation between them still hanging unaddressed, Sarah glanced between them. Maybe we should take a break? She suggested softly. Get some water, or no? Jake interjected suddenly, turning to his mother. I want you two to get along. Sarah, let us talk. I don't want this to be weird. Fine by me, Sarah said, forcing her heart back down. This was the moment she had wanted to avoid an emotionally bumpy ride ahead, and she was gripping the wheel. Jake stood, brushing himself off as he took Sarah's hand. Come on. Let us go sit on the porch, he said, leading her back towards the house. As they reached the steps, Jake turned to his mother. You're okay, right? I mean, you can talk to Sarah without worrying that I'll break a bone. Of course, Jake. His mother's voice trailed off, her brows knitting together as she met Sarah's gaze. Let us figure this out all together, Jake said, taking a seat next to Sarah and visibly shaking off the earlier chaos. The three of them settled into an uneasy silence. Sarah felt her stomach twist as she braced for another round of questions. She felt like she was standing on the brink of something significant, but also precarious. The edge of acceptance or rejection hung there, suspended. Sarah, his mother began, her voice steadying. You say you can be what Jake needs. But what does that really mean? What do you see for yourself? This was the moment she prepared herself for. A chance to share her truth, no hesitation. I want to build a life with your son. I want to support him and love him in every way I can. I want a family. I want to be the person he can lean on, laugh with all of it. Jake's mother nodded slowly. But can you truly lead that life together? You don't come from the same background, and that matters. It matters to some, but to us. Sarah leaned in, determination threading through her words. Love is what truly connects us. I won't give up without showing you both that I belong. A flicker of something crossed Jake's mother's face. Was it hope? Skepticism? Maybe, Jake interrupted, his voice filled with conviction. It can start with just one meeting, getting to know each other bit by bit. Sarah felt a surge of optimism at his words. Perhaps this could be a turning point. Perhaps they could navigate through the haze a way to build not just bridges, but foundations. Just as Jake's mother started to smile, an expression that could begin thawing the tension, Jake's younger brother ran up, out of breath. Mom! You've got to see this. The neighbor's dog is chasing a squirrel. Laughter bubbled back into the moment, breaking the heavy atmosphere. But Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that the stakes were higher now. They had cracked open a door, and that door could either lead to nurturing paths or further divisions. In that moment, amid the laughter that faded into the backdrop, Sarah realized each day could bring challenges. But they also held the promise of connection. What waited beyond this moment? Would they bravely take their next step, or would they let fears pull them apart? The question lingered in the air, waiting for their next move. Love, like a fragile thread, held them in balance. The sun began to set, casting a warm golden glow over the porch as laughter still echoed in the background. But amidst the fading light, a shadow loomed over Sarah's heart. She squeezed Jake's hand a little tighter, feeling the warmth of his skin grounding her in the moment. His mother seemed distracted, her smile from before slipping away like the daylight. Watching her gaze drift towards the horizon, Sarah wondered what thoughts raged beneath that calm exterior. She wanted to reach out, to bridge the gap that still lingered in the air, but the vulnerability felt too raw. Jake broke the silence, attempting to steer the conversation into safer waters. So, Sarah, what are some things you love to do? His expression was earnest, and she admired how he worked to keep the moment light. She thought for a moment before answering. I love to paint. It's like building a world with colors. She glanced at Jake, who leaned in, intrigued. And it helps me process everything. Like emotions, they turn into strokes on a canvas. Jake nodded thoughtfully. I'd love to see what you've done. But, what about you? Sarah asked, forcing herself to focus on something other than the growing tension. What do you really enjoy? Jake's eyes lit up. I like to hike. Being out in nature makes me feel free. Like I can breathe deeper. A shadow then crossed his face, reminiscent of the thought that pulled him back into himself. I just wish I could share that more. His mother's expression shifted again, perhaps sensing that they were venturing where she hadn't wanted to go. Hiking. Is it possible to enjoy life so much when you're always looking downward, Jake? You need to watch your step, or you might stumble again. Her tone was light, but Sarah felt the subtle sting beneath it, the echo of worry, radiating from a place of deep care. It was relentless, a reminder of the fractures that made each moment feel precarious. Mom, Jake replied, hurt evident in his voice. I can handle myself, you know that. Just like Sarah can handle being here. Sarah's heart raced, feeling the tension between the two. Jake's mother's gaze softened for an instant before hardening again, a flicker of disappointment sparking like dry leaves in a hot wind. What I don't know is whether either of you will be able to handle the kind of life we have, his mother murmured, her voice quiet but firm. A heavy silence descended again, wrapping them in uncertainty. Sarah's thoughts raced. Could she fight back against that notion? I understand your concerns, but I can promise you I'm ready. I want to fight for a life built on love, she declared, trying to keep her voice steady. Jake's eyes flashed with a newfound fire. See, Mom. That's what I've been telling you. Sarah is someone who believes in us. Jake's mother sighed deeply, a soft flicker of acceptance crossing her face. Believing is one thing, but reality has a way of changing things. What if things can begin to change? Sarah countered. What if we take the first step together, even if it's small? The sun dipped below the trees, casting a deeper shadow that mirrored the heaviness in the air. A passing moment, a fleeting thought whispered in Sarah's mind. Did they even know what kind of obstacles waited for them? In the heart of this family turmoil, she understood they were at a crossroads, choices made now could echo for years. Sarah glanced at Jake, a mix of fear and determination glimmering in his eyes. Just as the silence wrapped around them, a sudden cacophony erupted from the direction of the neighbor's yard. Another ruckus, another startling distraction. But within her, anxiety swelled and twisted. Jake, what if all this doesn't work out? She thought, though she didn't dare say it out loud. But then another small voice in her head whispered back, what if it can? Each moment like this mattered, it could shift everything. Would they dare to really uncover what was on the other side of this uncertainty? As night began to creep in, illuminating their silhouettes, one question lingered in the air: could their love indeed pierce through the shadows of doubt? The darkness wrapped around them like a thick blanket, making the porch feel both intimate and isolating. Sarah searched Jake's face, hoping to catch a glimpse of the strength that had drawn her to him in the first place. His brow was furrowed, and the flicker of a candle illuminated the angles of his jaw, revealing the strain beneath a hopeful exterior. Why does it feel so heavy? Jake asked, barely above a whisper. We're supposed to be enjoying this time together. We are, Sarah insisted, searching for something to break the tension. She could feel the weight of unspoken words gathering in the air around them. It's just life is complicated sometimes. Before they could dive deeper, Jake's mother broke in, her arms crossed, a familiar stance that signaled both care and protection. Complicated doesn't even begin to explain it, Jake. You both have to understand that love isn't enough to face the obstacles we have. Her voice trembled slightly, revealing an edge of concern that seemed beyond the surface of their discussion. Mom, I love Sarah. That should mean something. Jake's voice cracked, a mix of frustration and desperation. I know you do, but love doesn't shield you from the world, she countered, her eyes darting around as if seeking for answers hidden in the night. You can't ignore reality. You need a plan, Jake. You need stability. Sarah needs it too. And what about us? Don't we matter? Sarah interjected, realizing perhaps that her own fears were bubbling over. Her palms were clammy as she fought against rising emotion. You talk about stability, but maybe love is the only thing that can give us both meaning. Jake's mother seemed taken aback, her gaze settling on Sarah with a blend of surprise and uncertainty. You think love is enough? It will get hard, and those moments of hardship can change everything. Hardship is a part of life, Sarah said, her voice steadier now, fueled by a sudden resolve. We face it together. Isn't that what you're supposed to do? The air grew still, as if the night paused to listen. Jake's mother's eyes softened briefly, reflecting a flicker of something, perhaps understanding, perhaps fear. But before she could respond, the sound of jubilant laughter from the neighbors burst through the night once more, drowning their moment in a jarring wave of merriment that was a reminder of what they lacked, or at least what they feared they'd lose. Sarah glanced at Jake, whose expression flickered between hope and despair. She felt her chest tighten, the weight of all the uncertainty tightening around her heart. Isn't it funny how other people can just enjoy life while we're stuck here? Jake murmured, the vulnerability in his voice hitting her like a physical blow. Maybe it's because they haven't faced what we have, Sarah replied softly, her heart aching for both of them. Maybe they don't have to fight for what they love. His mother sighed, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. You both have so much to learn. A heaviness settled between them, unbroken and almost tangible. Somewhere amid the confessions and fears, Sarah felt a surge of determination rise against the darkness, pushing her to make one last plea. Let us try. Just let us try. If it's meant to be, we'll find a way. Jake's mother paused, as if weighing the gravity of their request against her fears. A sudden breeze rustled through the trees, bringing with it the coolness of night and a hint of freedom. Sarah held her breath, waiting for an answer that seemed eternal. Then, a flicker of resolution shone in Jake's eyes. No matter what, I want to face it with you, Sarah. You're not just a chapter in my life, you're the whole story. The moment that followed felt electric, pulsing with possibility and trepidation. Yet just as hope began to bridge the gaps, a loud crash echoed from the neighbor's yard, snapping them back to reality. Jake's mother shot a glance toward the commotion, her concern shifting from them to the distraction. What was that? She whispered, the cracks in her armor visible. What if this is a sign? Sarah wondered, though she didn't voice it. Instead, she turned to Jake, both of them daring to imagine what lay ahead amidst uncertainty, but the night had a way of holding secrets. What awaited them beyond the shadows of this moment felt more significant than they could comprehend. As they stared into the darkness, an unsettling truth lingered: would their love withstand the wreckage of unexpected surprises? And with that thought hanging heavily in the air, the chaos around them felt like an echo of looming challenges. Would they be ready? The laughter from the neighbors faded, replaced by an eerie silence that enveloped them. The loud crash had come from the other side of the yard, but it felt like an aftershock of the emotional earthquake they were experiencing. Jake's mother shifted, the strength she had moments ago crumbling beneath the weight of 100 unspoken worries. What if they hurt themselves? She murmured, more to herself than to anyone else. Maybe we should check, Jake suggested, eyes darting toward the faint glow of light spilling from the neighbor's yard. Stay here, his mother said, her voice rising with urgency. I'll go see. She turned to Sarah, vulnerability creeping into her expression. You two stay put, I'll be right back. Jake and Sarah watched her go, a fragile moment stretching in the silence that followed. They were left with the heavy gravity of what just transpired between them. That flicker of resolve in Jake's eyes still sparked something deep within Sarah, an ember she hoped would ignite into a flame. Do you think she'll understand? Jake whispered, running a hand through his hair, frustration mingling with fear. She might, Sarah replied, her breath catching slightly. But we have to meet her halfway. We can't ask her to just accept us. We need to earn it. His gaze fell, shadows dancing across his face. Sometimes it feels like we're fighting our own families and the world at the same time. It just feels heavy. Heavy but not impossible, Sarah insisted. We just have to show them how much we care. Actions speak louder than words. Jake looked at her, a mix of admiration and doubt swirling in his eyes. Can love really overcome all this? When everyone seems so against us. She squeezed his hand, grounding them both. Love doesn't promise easy days. It promises we won't face those days alone. It's the type of love that will make us strong enough to fight. Just then, the sounds of laughter returned from the neighbor's yard, a reminder of everything they were grappling with. Sarah could almost picture it, a gathering of carefree young adults, drinks in hand, sharing stories and laughter under string lights. They were having everything she longed for, everything that felt miles away. Look, we can't keep letting them define who we are, she said, her words spilling out with a fierce urgency. Let us create our own path together. Jake's expression shifted, something like a light flickering in his eyes. What if we went to that party? Show them we're happy together. Seriously? She asked, a mix of disbelief and excitement charging the air. You think we should just show up? Why not? We're not doing anything wrong. If they see us together, maybe it will change how they see us. If we show them love, maybe they find it harder to push us away. A thrill coursed through Sarah. You're right. Let us go. And if anyone says anything, we'll make sure they see what we're fighting for. They exchanged glances, a new purpose igniting between them. Just as they began to rise from their seats, the sounds from the neighbor's party rose higher, a boisterous cheer that felt electric with promise, but as they stepped off the porch, determined to face whatever awaited them, a noise suddenly sliced through the joyous shrieks, a frantic shout, followed by a dark thump that sent chilling shivers over their skin. They froze, hearts pounding wildly in their chests. What was that now? Sarah whispered, her excitement giving way to dread. Jake reached for her hand, worry etched into his face. Something doesn't feel right. And as they stood in the doorway, unsure whether to push forward or retreat, an overwhelming sense of foreboding washed over Sarah. What lay beyond their door felt increasingly uncertain, and before long, shadows lurking just out of sight began to loom larger, reminding them that they weren't the only ones battling for love. Would they step into the unknown and confront the chaos surrounding them, or would they let fear guide their choices? Stay tuned as secrets threaten to unravel everything they hold dear. The air was thick with tension, the shadows of doubt creeping back into Sarah's mind. The laughter from the neighbor's yard felt like a distant echo, a teasing reminder of what could be. Maybe we should head back inside, Jake suggested quietly, his cheerful demeanor dimming. She could see it in his eyes, doubt was settling in his chest too. But just as Sarah was about to agree, his mother returned, brows furrowed like she carried the weight of the world. "Everything's fine," she said briskly, yet there was a quiver in her voice. "Just some kid accidentally knocking over things. Nothing to worry about." But Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that the real danger lay beneath the surface. They were all teetering on a precipice, just one misstep away from falling into chaos. "Maybe it's time to address the elephant in the room," Sarah said, her voice steadier than she felt. "We need to talk about love." Jake's mother looked at her, surprise flickering across her features. "What do you mean?" Jake stepped closer to Sarah, spine straightening with resolve. "We're serious, Mom. We're committed to each other. We want to build a life together, and we need your support to do that. Love is real, and it's worth fighting for." The atmosphere shifted, a moment of clarity threading between their silent fears and hopes. "We're not asking for approval. We're asking for understanding," Sarah chimed in. "We know it's complicated, but we believe love transcends those complications." Jake's mother softened, the fierceness in her expression melting away like ice in the sun. "It's not that I don't want you to be happy, but I worry life isn't a fairy tale." "It can be, if we make it one," Sarah replied, her heart racing. "But we can't do it alone. We need to face the world together." "Together," Jake echoed, squeezing Sarah's hand, their unspoken strength passing between them like a lifeline. For a moment, silence filled the space. It was uncomfortable, a waiting game of vulnerability. But then, a light smile crept onto Jake's mother's lips. "Well, it seems someone has to keep both of you in line. If you both are so determined, maybe just maybe, I can try to understand." The sense of hope cracked open like dawn breaking over the horizon. "You'll see how much we can achieve together," Sarah said as she exchanged a glance with Jake, whose smile widened, glowing and radiant. His mother took a deep breath, her walls coming down ever so slightly. "Then I'd like to meet your family too, Sarah," she said, surprising both of them. "Let us share our worlds. It's a start." In that instant, Sarah felt a rush of energy flowing through her. The obstacles that had once felt insurmountable now seemed less daunting. They could reshape this narrative into one set by love rather than fear. Laughter resumed from the neighbor's yard, a reminder that happiness was just a decision away. They moved toward the sound, hand in hand, hearts stitched together with newfound courage. As they stepped out from the boundaries of uncertainty, an invisible weight lifted, offering them a glimpse of the life they wanted to create. The sun set gently behind them, casting a warm yellow light that mingled with the shadows, creating a canvas of possibilities. "This is just the beginning," Jake said, turning to face Sarah with determination in his eyes. "Yes, it is," she replied, squeezing his hand tighter. "And I refuse to let anyone dim the love we have." As they walked toward the lively atmosphere next door, Sarah knew one thing for sure: love was worth every battle. With each step forward, they found their footing, ready to face whatever came next. Together, the world had taught them the challenges of love, but now they were determined to create a masterpiece of their own. Would they conquer those challenges? Only time would reveal the vibrant tapestry their love story was destined to become. And speaking of stories, if you enjoyed this emotional roller coaster, you need to subscribe now. Don't wait even one more second. Hit that bell for all notifications because the best is yet to come. Like this video to support us and feed that algorithm. Every click counts. Don't forget to comment below with your feelings about this ending. Share this story instantly with 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Only true fans know how important it is to support our channel. Let us keep the storytelling alive.